Welcome to Unchained Melody Workshop. Yes, Unchained Melody sounds surprisingly good on the bagpipes. Who knew? So probably the people who knew are the ones who request this workshop. Thank you so much for requesting. And click on the link below if you want to access all the lessons to the Unchained Melody Bagpipe Workshop. And without any further ado, let's just get started on lesson 1 here. So we got a couple notes, but an embellishment if you would like. So we'll break down that D throw. But first, just to go through the notes in this first line. So won't worry about the D throw just yet. So that's what we're doing in the first lesson, and we'll do that D throw in a moment. Don't get anxious. Just to break down the notes. So normally with the introductory note, it's normally a E before we start a tune. For example, Scotland the Brave. So we have that big E intro note. For this Unchained Melody piece I've written, and again the sheet music's in the link below. This is my version of Unchained Melody. But I have kind of looked through a bunch of different versions, bagpipe versions, the singing original, Irish whistle versions, and I came up with this version. But I like a low A intro for this tune. So I would suggest starting from a low A, going up to that D. You can get there with a D throw, which we'll talk about in a moment, but low A up to D. So low A, our bottom hand, the pinky is up, top hand, all the fingers are down. Usually bottom hand's the right hand, but some people do the opposite. You'll just have to have the bag under your right arm instead of your left arm when you transition to the pipes, that's all. So bottom hand, pinky fingers up, that's our low A. And we're going up to D. So we drop down the pinky finger and lift up all the other fingers of the low hand at the same time. Top hand does nothing. And that's our first transition. So as you hear, we have this D to E. So that D up to E, that's more of a trickier transition. Just lots of movement happening in the fingers. So if that's new to you, you might have to pause this for a bit. You need to drop down all the fingers of the bottom hand except lift up that pinky finger. And at the same time, that ring finger of the top hand's lifting up. So once you can do that without any extra noises, you're ready to move on. If your old hat at that, don't worry, we'll be adding in that D throw in a moment. So we have one D, our second D, and then we have our third D. And to get to that third D, we're going to do something a little different. So after our second D, we go back up to E like we did before. And then from that E, we're going to go up to F by lifting up the middle finger of the top hand. So we go up to F, we hold that F for a little bit, then we go right back to E. That E's not very long, and then we go down to D. So we're doing up to F, down to E, down to D. So let me talk about beats a little bit, and I'll play through that once more before we get into that D throw. We'll talk about beats and timing a little bit here. So beats and timing. So I've got it written in 4/4 time, and again, the sheet music's in the link below. So there's 4 beats per bar. So our first D gets 3 beats. So if you're tapping your foot, that D gets 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 1. And then we get 1 beat, or the 4th beat in the bar on that E. D, 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 E, D, 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 E. The first 2 bars are the exact same. Now in that 3rd bar, we're only doing part of it in this lesson. We'll get to it in lesson 2. We're going to have that F and that E all happen in 1 beat. The F is dotted, that means that F is going to be longer than the E, which is cut. So it's got a little line on its tail, an extra line, so that tells us that 8th note is cut. If your brain's exploding, don't worry, it's just, listen to it and it'll come. So let's play it together. So D da dum, that D da, F E D, F E D. The D gets 2 beats, that F E D. You hear that F E D. That F and E both happen within 1 beat, but that F E D, that F is longer than the E. So that's all you have to really know for timing. Now embellishment wise, we have a simple grace note and then the D throw. So enough anticipation for the D throw already, hey Alec? So let's talk about that easy grace note first, from E up to F. So E up to F, so we're going to actually lift up all the fingers of the top hand, and then that top finger comes down and covers the whole. In theory, that top finger might come up off the chanter a little bit ahead of the second finger before the top finger comes back on the hole, but it really doesn't matter. If both lift off at the same time, it'll still sound fine. But if you find your G grace note finger is leading the movement, that's actually, in theory, more correct. But either way, you'll get the same sound. So let's talk about the D throw, because we have 3 D throws here if you choose to do them. So first D throw, we're coming off the low A if you choose to do a low A introductory note, like I mentioned. If not, you're coming off the E. So we'll break down the low A D throw, then we'll break down the E D throw, because we have to do that anyways. So low A D throw. So our D throw, first half of the movement, hit low G with the pinky finger, D grace note finger does its own grace note, and then we end up on low G again. So the D grace note finger is the top finger of the bottom hand. That's the first half of the D throw. So just get used to that combination of finger work to start. Pause the video if you need to. Once you're there, we're going to do the second half of the D throw. So we're still on low G after that D grace note. Pop up to C, lift up those middle 2 fingers, pop up to D. And then let's put those 2 halves together. Remember the first half? And remember the second half. Let's put them together. Nice! And you might be like, Alec, that doesn't sound like a D throw. It's all the mechanics of a D throw. It's just all slow, and it's better to just practice it slow and evenly spaced and then pick the whole thing up, but we want that even spacing throughout all those finger movements. So once you're getting that D throw a little bit up to speed, now we can work on it from the E, because we have that as well. So we have a lot of that E D throw business happening here. Same idea, except we have to drop down the ring finger, because we're on the E. We have to drop down the ring finger of the bottom hand as well as that pinky to get down to that G. So lots of D throws happening still in the rest of this first half, or first 2 lines of the tune, first quarter of the tune, I guess. So this tune is a lot of fun on the bagpipes. Can't wait to see you in lesson 2. And if you're an eager beaver and you want to check out all the links to all the lessons, it's just down in the video description below. Until next time, happy piping.